My life has been rich with handicraft skills passed down to me from the women in my family. As I travel back to my childhood, I can remember moments when yarn and fabric shaped my future love of fiber art. Here is one of those snapshots from long ago. The Unravelling, a Crochet Story. Ginny, my great-grandmother on my maternal side in northern England, was a formidable woman who filled a room in both size and personality. She also came to love crochet in her older years. She married young and was well known to have had an 18-inch waist at her wedding. She was a true Lancashire lass. Her life was a journey. She lost her first husband in World War I and was 5 months pregnant with my grandfather at the time. She already had 2 young girls to care for. It was not long before the need for another husband became a necessity, so along came husband number 2 and another 2 boys and a stepson. Ginny's waistline grew with the number of children she bore and with the weight of life's responsibilities. I often heard the stories of my great-grandmother when there was time to pass and my grandfather was in a storytelling mood. She had run a corner store in order to feed the family. Over the years, the store had seen a fish and chip shop, a mercantile, and a chocolate store. When the store had been a hopping Lancashire chippy, my grandfather's chore was to peel the day's potatoes before heading to school or out with his mates. He often told us about the days when he would leave the potatoes only half peeled in order to disappear with his friends and later pay the consequences. When the shop was full of chocolates, he would frequently sneak off with a box or 2 of chocolate assortments for my grandmother. He would talk for hours, and my sister and I would never miss a word. My grandmother was known by many as a hard worker, but times were not easy. I frequently heard that she had to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. My respect for women like her is no short of admirable. My life is so easy by comparison. I was lucky enough to meet her in the last few months of her life. I was only 2 years old, but I remember her with clarity. Ginny spent her last days in a Catholic nursing home. I can remember climbing the smooth marble stairs when we visited. Turning to the right as we walked down the hallway, she would be sitting in her wheelchair with a glorious array of colors on her lap. I later learned that her blanket was made of granny squares. I would be lifted onto her lap, and as nervous as I was in the arms of this stranger, I remember being mesmerized by the kaleidoscope of colors in her throw. My little fingers explored the beauty of one of the many blankets my great-grandmother would create. My great-grandmother never stopped crocheting. Her eyesight dwindled, but her hands were forever busy making Granny Square after Granny Square. Her purpose was to make blankets for the needy, and her drive to help was ever present. However, with little ability to see, the squares did not turn out as she believed them to be. My grandfather would comment on the beautiful work she was doing, and at each visit he would promise to deliver the squares to the ladies' circle, who would join them and get them to those in need. By the firelight, we would sit after the weekly visit and unravel the squares. They could not be used as the holes were aplenty. The unraveled balls would then be placed into a bag and happily returned to Ginny on the next visit. She would be delighted to have new yarn to create more squares, and her productivity and purpose would be restored. She continued to crochet until the end of her days. There is nothing like having a purpose to keep a crafter happy and productive. I am glad that I hold the memories of such a strong and capable woman in my genes and in my mind. As a side note, My great-uncle, continued Ginny's Chippy, if you have ever visited St. Helens and cheered on the Saints, you may have visited our family chip shop that is adjacent to the field.